This movie review is a review of the movie A Beautiful Mind. A Beautiful Mind was released in 2001. It was directed by Ron Howard. The starring actor was Russell Crowe, and it's based on the life of John Nash. Russell Crowe portrayed John Nash in the film. I chose this movie because I thought it was about someone who has been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. But quickly found out this was not about someone who has been diagnosed with ASD. It is about someone who has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. A little bit of a backstory on John Nash. He went to college back in the 1940s, and he developed an economic theory that we still use today. We apply it on individual matters such as personal investing issues, and we also use it in larger issues like the stock market. So his economic theory really impacted how we do things on a global scale as individuals, as well as nationally and globally in stock trade and different investment opportunities. This theory that he created and its applications in the world of economics led to John Nash receiving the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1994. So the plot of the movie starts with John Nash beginning college, and again, that was in the 1940s. You could see that he was struggling to adjust academic and socially to his new college setting. But luckily, he had a roommate who was very understanding and helped John navigate college and work to develop his economic theory. That economic theory later helped John land a job working at another college, and a part of his job, in addition to doing the research, was teaching a class. And teaching is where he met his future wife. She was one of his students. And as he's teaching and working at the college, he also lands a job as a government contractor. And what we'll talk about a little bit later is, was there really a government contract, and exactly how did that work? So again, kind of a turn of events. Things are not always as they seem. So John is at a stage where he's juggling work and family commitments and also this government contract. And that led to a little bit of a secret life. John became very paranoid because of the work that he was doing with the government. He was having to do some code breaking that was really at a level of national security. And as his family grew, as he got married and his wife got pregnant, he became more concerned about his involvement in this project and how that could impact his family. However, when he tried to quit, his government handler would not let him leave, and even reminded him that their safety and the confidentiality of what he was doing was based on him continuing to work on that project. And with that information, John's paranoia and concern for his safety and his family's safety, it just continued to worsen. Because of the changes that John's wife saw in his behavior, she did contact a psychiatrist to try to help John. When John was giving a presentation at another college, he saw some men in suits coming toward him, and he was concerned that they were spies for another government. He tried to run away. He left the stage very abruptly, and it turns out that it was the psychiatrist and his team who were trying to apprehend him so they could help him and get him the services that he needed. When John was taken to the treatment facility with the psychiatrist and his team, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. This way he was able to get the treatment that he needed. He did a few months of inpatient treatment, and then when he was released, he was able to go home and was encouraged to continue a medication regimen to assist with the side effects and the different challenges that he would face because of the schizophrenia diagnosis. However, the medication did have some side effects, and so John secretly quit taking the medicine. And this meant that his delusions and his hallucinations, they all started back up again. And so what we learn is that that very helpful roommate who also had a young niece that John was very fond of, and the government handler, and the entire government contract and his work, they were all part of the delusions and the hallucinations tied to the schizophrenia. So none of those characters and none of those experiences were real. They were all stemming from the schizophrenia diagnosis. When the wife realizes that he has relapsed, she contacts the psychiatrist for help once again. In the end, the psychiatrist comes and meets with them, and he really does encourage John to come back to the inpatient facility and receive more treatment. John and his wife decide that they want to create a plan for John to be able to stay home and have a normal life. So they implement some different tactics to try to keep him in as normal an environment as possible. They get John connected with his alma mater, the college that he attended as a student, and he's able to spend some time there kind of on a guest or a volunteer basis. And then he does end up actually attending some classes and conducting some study groups and other small groups with current students. Through all of this, there are some setbacks. We learn that he struggles with these delusions and hallucinations for the rest of his life, but for the most part, he is able to maintain them and notice them when they're occurring and then try to work through it and move past it. In 1994, he is awarded the Nobel Prize for Economics, and when he's giving his speech, at least in the movie, he does cite love as being the biggest reason that he is there that night to accept that prize and was able to move through the challenges that he faced, and that was especially from the love of his wife. So that is just a quick review of the movie A Beautiful Mind. It's a really great movie, so if you have a chance, definitely check it out. As far as this assignment and reviewing it and thinking from a perspective of a diagnosis and working with someone who's received a diagnosis, I do think it romanticized mental illness a little bit, just the fact that John and his wife worked together to create this plan to keep him home, and while it's wonderful that that worked out, there are times when truly someone does need additional assistance from a physician or some type of an inpatient or outpatient treatment. But I think this also really shows how the wraparound services that we can provide people either through community agencies or family members or friends, but that support system that we put around someone who has a disability or just someone who's struggling in general can help them have a more successful life and lead a normal life, maybe with some accommodations. So again, a good movie and some really good messages. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely encourage you to check it out.